The WK-91 is the prior written notice for eval or the reevaluation consent, and some people refer to that as the PWNE for eligibility or eval. So at the top of the form, you're going to see those same LEADM selectors that you see on most of the other WebKids forms. So if I have those clicked and I click on the Save button, it's going to automatically address this to whichever LEADMs I've selected. So on the contacts, demographics contacts on that page are going to automatically roll over here. So on this one, you can see that there is not a third LEADM. So I wouldn't have to have this checked. You wouldn't necessarily have to have the student checked. I'm going to click Save, and based on what you check up here is what's going to print down here. So you can see that this student has 2 legal education decision makers or 2 contacts on that demographic screen. And so this one printed out with address, city, state, and zip. If you notice that one of the parents or one of the LEADMs does not print out an address, it could be that you forgot to enter it on the demographics page, but it could also be that it's tied to the checkbox that says, do not print this address, yes or no. So in this case, there is an address on the demographics screen, but we've marked not to print it. So that way the same notification can be sent to both parents without revealing addresses when it's not appropriate. So later we're going to get down to the bottom of the form where we talk about this LEADM selector just a little bit more and how you document, how you sent the document, the actual 91 to those 2 separate LEADMs. The date that you are doing the eligibility evaluation for eligibility or request for evaluation and consent date goes right here at the top. So you would put that here, fill it in. It automatically fills in the student's name and lets you know that your agency is requested or proposes to complete the following actions. So this one says WebKids. Yours is going to have your agency name automatically put in there. Okay, so this is not a lot different than the one that already is in existence that people are using, but it is updated with the variables to be include all of those rich text editor boxes and those other things that are up to date. So your agency name will automatically fill in here, and you get to choose whether or not you're proposing to conduct an initial evaluation, you're proposing to conduct a reevaluation, whether you need additional information or not, or whether you're refusing to conduct one of those 2. Okay, and then you list your school contact person here. A lot of the times that will be your school psychologist, but not necessarily all the time. It could be a speech language pathologist doing a speech only evaluation. When you scroll down, you get a mark whether you are looking for new data or existing data. So health and motor ability, are you going to use new data? Are you going to use both? Or are you just going to use the existing data you already have? So this is the area where you mark which options you want to obtain information in. So health and motor, vision, hearing, social, emotional, behavior status. We have a lot of requests to take these and put them in separate boxes, or, for example, put health here and put motor in a new box. Regardless of which box it's in, you can always come and describe below. So you wouldn't necessarily have to change your form. You could definitely make some more explanation down below. Why is the action proposed or refused? These are the B, C, D, and E are the same sections that they have on the other version of the form. The only difference we have on this form is that it's using what I called RTE boxes earlier, which is rich text editor, which is nice because it kind of takes away the chances that you're going to copy and paste and get some of those strange looking symbols or characters. So that should resolve that issue. If you're using one of these forms and you say, hey, our form still gives me weird characters all the time, it's very possible that you're not using this type of a text box, and that's why. So you might have the exact same looking form, but it's not working properly because it's outdated. So explanation of why it's proposed or refused, what options were considered. You go ahead and fill these in. And then when you come down here, you see another yellow box. Again, this doesn't print. It just alerts you to a reminder or information. So this one specifically says, hey, if you didn't already give a copy of parent rights or procedural safeguards out, here's your chance. You can go ahead and print them here in English or in Spanish. Okay, so that's just kind of one of those nice built-in features. Not going to print on your IEP, but a reminder for providers. Hey, don't forget, you need to give them a copy of parent rights. So this talks about the procedural safeguards here. And then this was added in 2023, a statement that actually says, yes, the legal education decision maker was provided a copy of those parent rights in their native language on this date by the following method. Okay, you can choose hand delivered, mailed, any of these. But if you want to type in the box over here, you have to select other, and maybe then you type in your reason or your method for how they received it. Okay, most of the time, just choosing one of these others will suffice. This is just information that's required to be on the form. And then the request for special education action, if it's required. Here's the name of the school contact person, their contact phone number. If you do wish to consent, or if you do not give consent, please sign and date and return it to this representative above. So they can choose, I give consent, or they can choose, I do not give consent. And then this form has the electronic signatures built in. So if that parent or person is sitting right next to you, you could simply slide your computer over and they could sign it right there on the screen. It would work on an iPad, it would work on a phone, or anything that you have that you're able to sign on the screen. You could also send it via parent portal and they could log in and sign it that way. If they do that, all you have to do is use your trackpad, use your touch screen, whatever the case is, and they sign their name and click save. When you click save, it gives that date and time stamp of when the signature was obtained. Okay, you can type in the date over here. If you forget, it's right here. So it's not a big deal. If you happen to, let's say I don't know, extreme circumstances, you're at conferences and you're talking with one parent and you want to obtain the other person's signature because they're actually there, they come back in 20 minutes, they could come over here and sign. It wouldn't be any issue because then they would sign their name. And if I click save, if the time is changed or if the date is changed, it's going to document those. This one, I didn't wait long enough. They're both 9:15, but it will date and timestamp those based on in the moment. So it's okay if you have a date and timestamp that are different from each other. It just documents the uniqueness of that signature. So I'm going to clear these out because I often get the comment that says, hey, we're not ready to use electronic signatures. I don't think the staff's ready for that. So I don't think that I can use this new updated form. Well, the nice thing is on this, you actually can use it because if you see these lines down here, when you display and print this form like you've always done in years past, it's still going to give you a line to sign on with a pen or a pencil. So this will disappear and you'll have your regular signature line. So even if you're not using electronic signatures, you can still use this form and it will print out just like it always has before. Earlier, I mentioned those two lead-em selectors at the top. Those are going to copy at the top or copy at the bottom what's selected at the top. So in this case, we saw that there were two contacts on the demographics screen. There was contact number 1 and contact number 2. So when you are documenting that you provided this to parents, this is a great way to document right here on the form and not having to go over to a separate contact log and say, hey, I did provide this notice to, let's say Betsy was there at the school today, and so I hand delivered this to her and she signed it today, and life is good and I don't need to get anything else from her because I already have it, right? But let's say that the second parent wasn't there, so because he wasn't there, you said, I'm going to send that in the mail today on 17/23. and then maybe you hadn't heard back. So in a couple days or whatever, you say, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead. He's staying at Dad's house tonight, so I'm gonna send it home with the student again. It's gonna be on 7/23/23 or something. So the idea is that this gives you the option to document those attempts to deliver the notification to the parent, but it allows you to have separate documentation for different circumstances. So you always want to make sure that you have that filled out and completed accurately. So this is the WK-91 form. We went over just a little bit of the functionality and purpose. If you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to either Amber or Brian. You can email us at amber@webkids.org or brian@webkids.org. So thank you and have a great day.